The wind howled through the empty streets, carrying with it the ghostly echoes of a world that once thrived. The sound of creaking metal and distant clatters broke the oppressive silence, as if the earth itself was mourning its loss. A single pair of footsteps crunched over broken glass and cracked asphalt. Slow, deliberate, and lonely. Her boots were worn, soles peeling from years of wear, but they carried her forward. They always did. She didn't know why she kept walking. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was hope, or maybe it was just because stopping meant surrendering to the crushing weight of solitude. Her name was Elyse, though there was no one left to call her by it. She hadn't heard another human voice in... how long? Months? Years? Time had blurred into an endless stretch of days and nights, marked only by the rising and setting of the sun. Elyse adjusted the straps of her backpack. The leather cracked and faded, much like everything else in this hollowed-out world. Inside, she carried what little she could find: canned food long past its expiration date, a dented water bottle, a rusted multi-tool, and a few trinkets she'd picked up along the way, things that reminded her of humanity. A child's toy car, a photograph of a family she didn't know, a book with pages so brittle they threatened to crumble under her touch. The air was thick and heavy, laced with the faint metallic tang of decay. Buildings stood like skeletal remains, their windows shattered, their walls scarred by time and neglect. Nature had begun to reclaim the land, vines snaking up the sides of skyscrapers, weeds sprouting through cracks in the pavement. But even nature seemed tired, struggling to survive in a world that had turned against it. Elyse paused at an intersection, her eyes scanning the horizon. The city stretched out before her, a labyrinth of desolation. She pulled her scarf tighter around her neck, shielding herself from the biting wind. Her stomach growled, a sharp reminder of her dwindling supplies. Food was scarce, and water even more so. She'd learned to ration, to make do with what little she could find. But every day was a gamble, a fight for survival. She took a deep breath and pressed on, her footsteps echoing in the emptiness. The sound was both comforting and unsettling, a reminder that she was still alive, but also alone. Completely, utterly alone. Hours passed, or maybe it was minutes. Time had lost all meaning. The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows that danced across the ground. Elise's legs ached, her muscles screaming for rest, but she couldn't stop. Not yet. Not until she found something, anything, that gave her a reason to keep going. And then she saw it. A flash of green amidst the gray and brown. Her heart skipped a beat, and she quickened her pace, her boots kicking up dust as she approached. It was a plant, small, fragile, but alive. Its leaves were vibrant, a stark contrast to the lifeless surroundings. Elyse knelt down, her fingers trembling as she reached out to touch it. The texture was soft, almost velvety, and the color, it was the most beautiful thing she'd seen in years. She carefully dug around the base of the plant, her hands caked in dirt as she lifted it from the ground. The roots dangled, delicate and intricate. She placed it gently in her backpack, wrapping it in a piece of cloth to protect it. She didn't know why she felt compelled to take it, but something about it called to her. It was a symbol of life, of hope, and in a world devoid of both, it was priceless. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elyse found shelter in the remnants of an old diner. The neon sign above the door flickered weakly, casting a pale glow over the cracked tiles and overturned tables. She sat in a corner booth, her back against the wall, and pulled the plant from her bag. She stared at it, mesmerized by its beauty. For the first time in a long time, she felt a glimmer of something she thought she'd lost forever: wonder. But her moment of solace was short-lived. A low hum filled the air, growing louder with each passing second. Elyse froze, her heart pounding in her chest. The sound was unlike anything she'd ever heard, a deep, resonant vibration that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. She scrambled to her feet, clutching the plant to her chest, and peered out the window. The sky was alight with an otherworldly glow, hues of blue and purple swirling like liquid fire. And then she saw it, a ship, sleek and alien, descending from the heavens. It was massive, its surface smooth and reflective, like liquid metal. Lights pulsed along its edges, casting eerie patterns on the ground below. Elise's breath caught in her throat. She backed away from the window, her mind racing. Was this it? Had she finally gone mad? Or was this real? The ship landed with a gentle thud, the ground trembling beneath her feet. A ramp extended, and a figure emerged. It was tall, its form humanoid but unmistakably alien. Its skin shimmered like molten silver, and its eyes glowed with an inner light. It moved with a grace that was almost hypnotic, each step deliberate and fluid. Elyse pressed herself against the wall, her pulse hammering in her ears. She wanted to run, to hide, but her legs refused to move. The alien stopped a few feet away, its gaze fixed on her. It tilted its head, as if studying her, and then spoke. The words were incomprehensible, a series of melodic tones and clicks that resonated in her bones. But there was no malice in its voice, only curiosity. Elyse swallowed hard, her mouth dry. "What? What do you want?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The alien raised a hand, palm open, and gestured toward the plant. Elyse tightened her grip on it, her instincts screaming at her to protect it. The alien stepped closer, its movements slow and non-threatening. It pointed to the plant again, then to itself, and then to the sky. You want this?" Elyse asked, her voice trembling. "Why?" The alien didn't answer, but its eyes softened, a silent plea etched into its features. Elyse hesitated, torn between fear and curiosity. Finally, she nodded, holding out the plant. The alien took it gently, cradling it as if it were the most precious thing in the universe. And then it gestured for her to follow. Elyse hesitated, her mind a whirlwind of emotions. But something about the alien's demeanor reassured her. It wasn't here to harm her. It needed her help. She grabbed her backpack and followed it onto the ship, her heart pounding with a mix of fear and anticipation. The interior of the ship was breathtaking, a seamless blend of technology and artistry. Walls pulsed with light, and the air was filled with a faint hum, like the heartbeat of a living organism. The alien led her to a chamber filled with plants, each one glowing softly in the dim light. It placed her plant among them, its expression one of reverence. Elyse watched in awe as the alien activated a console, holographic images flickering to life. It showed her a vision of a dying world, its skies choked with smoke, its oceans boiling. And then it showed her the plant, thriving, spreading, healing. Elise's breath caught in her throat as she realized the truth. This plant wasn't just rare, it was miraculous. It had the power to restore balance, to save worlds. Exhaustion finally caught up with her, and she sank into a chair, her eyelids heavy. The alien placed a blanket over her shoulders, its touch surprisingly gentle. As sleep claimed her, she felt a strange sense of peace, as if she were part of something greater than herself. But when she woke, the plant and the alien were gone. The hum of the alien ship was gone. Elyse sat up abruptly, her heart racing as she scanned the dimly lit room. The blanket that had been draped over her shoulders slid to the floor. She was alone. The plant, the miraculous plant, was gone. And so was the alien. Her chest tightened with a mix of betrayal and confusion. She stumbled to her feet, her mind racing. Where was she? The walls around her were smooth and metallic, glowing faintly with veins of light that pulsed like living tissue. A window stretched across one side of the room, revealing a landscape unlike anything she'd ever seen. Outside, towering trees with crystalline leaves shimmered in hues of violet and gold. Rivers of liquid light carved through rolling hills, their glow illuminating the strange flora that blanketed the ground. The sky was a kaleidoscope of colors, shifting and swirling like an endless aurora. It was beautiful, alien, and utterly surreal. Elyse pressed her hand against the glass, her breath fogging the surface. She wasn't on Earth anymore. That much was clear. But where was she? And why had the alien left her here? A sudden noise snapped her out of her thoughts, a soft rustling, followed by a low, melodic hum. Elyse turned sharply, her fists clenched. She had no weapons, no way to defend herself, but she wasn't about to go down without a fight. From the shadows emerged a creature unlike anything she'd ever imagined. It stood tall, its body slender and elegant, with long limbs that ended in delicate clawed fingers. Its head resembled that of a giraffe, elongated and graceful, but its eyes were startlingly human. They glowed softly, filled with curiosity and intelligence. Around its neck hung a necklace of polished stones, each one catching the light as it moved. "Human," it said, its voice deep and resonant, yet strangely soothing. "You are awake." Elyse froze, her mind struggling to process what she was seeing and hearing. You can talk," she stammered. The creature tilted its head, its gaze steady. "Of course, as can you." It stepped closer, its movements fluid and deliberate. "We have been waiting for you." Elyse asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Her heart pounded as more figures emerged from the shadows. There were others, dozens of them. Some resembled animals she recognized, monkeys with elongated arms and iridescent fur, fox-like creatures with multiple tails, and bird-like beings with wings that shimmered like stained glass. But their forms were twisted, altered, as if shaped by some unseen force, and all of them spoke. "You are the first human we have seen in many cycles," the giraffe-like creature said. "Your kind is rare now, scattered among the stars." Elise's knees felt weak, and she sank onto a nearby bench. "Scattered among the stars," she repeated, her voice trembling. "What do you mean?" The creature knelt before her, its gaze unwavering. "When your world began to die, many of your people fled. They sought refuge on other planets, leaving behind those who could not or would not leave. You are one of the few who remained." Elise's mind reeled. Other humans, alive, out there somewhere. The thought was both exhilarating and devastating. All this time she'd believed she was the last. She'd mourned humanity, grieved for its loss. And now, to learn that they hadn't vanished, they'd abandoned her, it was almost too much to bear. "But why am I here?" she asked, her voice cracking. "Why did that alien bring me here and then leave me?" The creature hesitated, its expression unreadable. "The one who brought you here. He is known to us. He seeks the life-giver." "The plant," Elyse murmured, realization dawning. "He stole it." "Yes," the creature said. "The life-giver is powerful. It has the ability to heal worlds, to restore balance. Many seek it, but few understand its true purpose." Elyse clenched her fists, anger bubbling beneath the surface. "I trusted him," she said bitterly. "And he betrayed me." The creature placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Perhaps his actions serve a greater purpose. Time will reveal the truth." Before Elyse could respond, a new figure stepped forward, a man. He was tall and broad-shouldered, clad in armor that gleamed like polished obsidian, His face was rugged, his jawline sharp, and his dark eyes held a depth that made Elyse's breath catch. He carried himself with the confidence of a soldier, but there was a softness in his gaze that hinted at something more. "You're human," Elyse said, her voice barely above a whisper. The man nodded. "Name's Kael," he said, his voice deep and steady. "I'm part of a reconnaissance team. We've been searching for survivors, for people like you." Elyse's heart raced. "There are more of us, more humans." Kael nodded again. "Not many, but yes. We've established colonies on other planets. It's not perfect, but it's home." Tears welled in Elyse's eyes, a mix of relief and overwhelming emotion. "I thought I was the last," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought everyone was gone." Kael stepped closer, his expression softening. "You're not alone anymore," he said gently. "We'll take you back with us. You'll be safe." But Elyse shook her head, determination hardening her features. "I can't leave," she said firmly. "Not yet. That plant, it's too important. If it can heal worlds, then we need to get it back." Kael studied her for a moment, then nodded. "Then we'll help you," he said simply. Over the following weeks, Elyse learned more about the planet and its inhabitants. The creatures, though strange in appearance, were intelligent and resourceful. They had formed clans, each one unique in its culture and traditions. And despite their differences, they worked together, united by a common goal: survival. Elyse quickly earned their respect. Her knowledge of technology and strategy set her apart, and her determination inspired those around her. She became a leader, guiding the clans as they prepared for the journey ahead. And through it all, Kael was by her side, his presence steady and reassuring. Their bond grew stronger with each passing day. Kael's quiet strength balanced Elyse's fiery determination, and she found herself drawn to him in ways she hadn't expected. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to hope, to feel. One evening, as the twin moons cast their silvery light over the camp, Kael approached Elyse. He held out a small, intricately carved pendant. "For luck," he said, his voice soft. Elyse took the pendant, her fingers brushing against his. "Thank you," she said, her cheeks flushing. Kael hesitated, then reached out to tuck a strand of hair behind her ear. "We'll find it," he said quietly. "The plant, the alien, whatever it takes." Elyse nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude and something more. Their journey was long and arduous, fraught with challenges and dangers. But Elyse's resolve never wavered. She led the clans with courage and determination, earning their loyalty and trust. And when they finally tracked down the alien who had stolen the plant, Elyse stood tall, ready to confront him. The alien's ship loomed before them, its sleek surface reflecting the vibrant hues of the planet. Elyse took a deep breath, her hand resting on the hilt of a blade Kael had given her. She wasn't the same woman who had wandered the desolate streets of Earth. She was stronger now, wiser, and she was ready to fight for what mattered. As the ship's ramp lowered, Elyse stepped forward, her gaze locked on the figure that emerged. The alien's eyes met hers, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. Then, with a calmness that belied the storm within her, Elyse said, "You have something that belongs to me." The alien tilted its head, its expression unreadable. "Do I?" it replied, its voice smooth and measured. Elyse's grip tightened on the blade. "You know what I'm talking about. The plant, the life-giver. Hand it over." The alien's gaze flicked to Kael, then to the gathered clans. A slow smile spread across its face. "Ah," it said. "So the human has found her place among the stars." Elyse took a step closer, her voice firm. "This isn't about me. It's about saving worlds. Now give it back." The alien's smile faded, replaced by something darker. "And what makes you think you deserve it?" it asked. "What makes you think humanity deserves another chance?" Elise's heart pounded, but she refused to back down. "Because we're still here," she said fiercely. "Because we're willing to fight for a better future, not just for ourselves, but for everyone." The alien studied her for a long moment, its expression inscrutable. Then, slowly, it reached into its cloak and pulled out the plant. Its leaves glowed softly, a beacon of hope in the darkness. "Prove it," the alien said, holding the plant out to her. "Prove that you are worthy." Elyse stepped forward, her hand closing around the plant. She met the alien's gaze, her resolve unshakable. "I will," she said. "I promise." And with that, the next chapter of her journey began. Elyse cradled the plant in her hands, its glow pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. The alien's inscrutable gaze lingered on her for a moment longer, before it turned and retreated back into the shadows of its ship. The ramp began to close with a low mechanical hum, sealing the mysterious figure away once more. Elyse stood there, her chest rising and falling as she processed what had just happened. Kael stepped up beside her, his presence grounding her in the moment. "You did it," he said quietly, his voice laced with both admiration and relief. She shook her head, her fingers tightening around the fragile roots of the life-giver. "No," she replied, her voice steady but filled with determination. "This is just the beginning." The clans gathered behind her, their varied forms illuminated by the soft light of the plant. The giraffe-like creature who had first spoken to her, whom she now knew as Orani, stepped forward, its elongated neck bowing slightly in respect. "The life-giver is safe," Orani said, its deep voice resonating through the air. "But its power must be understood, nurtured. It is not merely a tool, it is a responsibility." Elyse nodded, understanding the weight of what she held. This wasn't just about reclaiming the plant. It was about ensuring that its potential was used wisely, for the good of all. And she knew that task would fall to her. The journey back to the heart of the clan's territory was arduous, but there was a renewed sense of purpose among them. Elyse carried the life-giver in a protective container, crafted by the fox-like artisans of the clan known as the Veyari. The container shimmered with intricate patterns, designed to shield the plant from harm while allowing it to breathe and grow. As they traveled, Elyse learned more about the strange, vibrant world she now called home. The clans were diverse, each one shaped by the unique environments they inhabited. The Veyari were cunning and resourceful, their multiple tails flicking gracefully as they worked tirelessly to craft tools and weapons. The Saimar, the monkey-like beings, were agile and quick-witted, their iridescent fur glinting in the sunlight as they scouted ahead. And then there were the Avieth, the bird-like creatures whose wings shimmered like stained glass. They were the philosophers and historians, preserving the stories of their people through song and art. Elyse found herself drawn to their stories, their struggles, and their resilience. Despite their differences, they had built a society that thrived on cooperation and mutual respect. It was a stark contrast to the fractured, divided world she had left behind on Earth. And yet, she couldn't help but wonder if humanity could learn from them, if there was still hope for her own kind. Kael remained by her side throughout the journey, his quiet strength a constant source of comfort. Their bond deepened with each passing day, their conversations ranging from shared memories of Earth to dreams of what the future might hold. Elyse found herself smiling more often, laughing even, something she hadn't done in years. Kael's presence reminded her of what it meant to feel alive, not just to survive, but to truly live. One evening, as the twin moons cast their silvery light over the camp, Kael approached her with a thoughtful expression. He held out a small bundle wrapped in cloth. I thought you might need this, he said, his voice soft. Elyse unwrapped the bundle to reveal a knife, its blade forged from a metal she didn't recognize. The hilt was adorned with carvings of vines and leaves, a tribute to the life-giver. She looked up at Kael, her eyes shining with gratitude. It's beautiful, she said. Thank you. He shrugged, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Figured you should have something to protect yourself. Not that you really need it. You're pretty terrifying when you're angry. Elyse laughed, the sound warm and genuine. I'll take that as a compliment, she said, slipping the knife into her belt. For a moment, they stood in comfortable silence, the air between them charged with unspoken words. Then, tentatively, Kael reached out and took her hand. You've changed everything, he said quietly, his dark eyes searching hers. For me. For all of us. Elyse felt her cheeks flush, but she didn't pull away. Instead, she squeezed his hand, her voice steady as she replied, We've changed everything. Together. When they finally reached the central settlement of the clans, Elyse was struck by its beauty. The structures were woven seamlessly into the natural landscape, their designs inspired by the surrounding flora and fauna. Crystalline towers rose above the treetops, their surfaces reflecting the vibrant hues of the sky. Bridges of woven vines connected the various levels, and the air was filled with the hum of activity as the clans worked together to prepare for what lay ahead. Elyse was led to a central chamber where the leaders of the clans had gathered. Orani stood at the head of the group, its tall form commanding attention. The other leaders represented their respective clans, the cunning Veyari, the agile Simar, the wise Avieth, and others Elyse had yet to meet. Each one brought their unique strengths and perspectives to the table. Elyse placed the life-giver on a pedestal in the center of the chamber, its glow illuminating the faces of those gathered. This plant has the power to heal worlds, she began, her voice strong and clear. But it's not enough to simply possess it. We need to understand it, to nurture it, and to use its power responsibly. This isn't just about saving one planet. It's about creating a future where all of us can thrive. The leaders murmured their agreement, their expressions a mix of awe and determination. Orani stepped forward, its gaze meeting Elyse's. You have proven yourself to be a leader, it said. Not just for your own kind, but for all of us. Will you accept this responsibility? Elyse hesitated, the weight of the question settling heavily on her shoulders. She glanced at Kael, who gave her an encouraging nod. Taking a deep breath, she turned back to Orani and the others. Yes, she said firmly. I will. The chamber erupted in cheers and calls of approval, the voices of the clans blending into a harmonious cacophony. Elyse felt a surge of pride and determination. She had found her place here, among these strange and wonderful beings, and she was ready to lead them into a new era. But her journey was far from over. As the days turned into weeks, Elyse worked tirelessly to unite the clans and unlock the secrets of the life-giver. With the help of the Avieth scholars and the Veyari craftsmen, they began to study the plant's properties, experimenting with ways to harness its power without harming it. Progress was slow, but steady. And yet, a shadow loomed over their efforts. The alien who had stolen the plant was still out there, and Elyse couldn't shake the feeling that their paths would cross again. She didn't know why he had returned the life-giver so easily, or what his true motives were, but she was determined to find out. One night, as she stood on a balcony overlooking the settlement, Kael joined her. He leaned against the railing, his gaze fixed on the horizon. You're thinking about him, aren't you? He asked. Elyse nodded, her expression pensive. I don't trust him, she admitted. But I can't ignore the fact that he brought me here, that he set all of this in motion. Kael placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Whatever his reasons, "We'll face him together," he said. "You're not alone in this." Elyse turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I know," she said softly, "and that makes all the difference." As the stars glittered above them, Elyse felt a renewed sense of purpose. She didn't know what the future held, but she was ready to face it, armed with the life-giver, the support of the clans, and the unwavering bond she shared with Kael. The universe was vast and uncertain, but Elyse was no longer afraid. She had found her place among the stars, and she was determined to make it count.